Good morning, students. So, my name is P. Sridevi, working as Head of Electrical and Electronics Engineering Section, Government Polytechnic, Warangal. Now, I am dealing with second sem diploma electrical students, and the subject is Electrical Engineering and Electronic Devices. According to 18 curriculum, the subject code is 18EE 205C. So presently we are in electromagnetic induction chapter, third chapter, which is, and the first two units are covered. The first one is the magnetic effect of electric current, and the second one is the magnetic circuits. Third one is the electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction means inducing some EMF in another circuit. Okay. The transfer of inducing EMF from one circuit to other circuit without having any electrical connection, but with the help of magnetic link is known as electromagnetic induction. So this principle is very much helpful in operating all electrical machines like transformers, generators and motors. So without this principle, no electrical machine can be operated. So in this way we can induce the EMF. So the EMF induced is also so many types: statically induced EMF, dynamically induced EMF. EMF induced in a conductor in which both magnetic field and conductor are at rest, then such type of EMF is known as statically induced EMF. See, before that let me explain how EMF is induced. So what are the requirements to develop an EMF? So to develop EMF, we need magnetic field and conductor, and the flux linking with the conductor should be changing. The change in flux linking with the conductor, it should not be constant. Okay, it should vary from time to time. So with this means the requirements are magnetic field, conductor and change in conductor. Okay. Now, if both conductor and magnetic field are at rest, then EMF is induced in the conductor. Then such type of EMF is known as statically induced EMF. If if any one of either magnetic field or conductor are moving, then the EMF developed is known as dynamically induced EMF. Dynamically induced EMF. When the EMF is induced due to change in flux in its own coil, then that type of EMF is known as self-induced EMF. It means the statically induced EMFs are again two categories: self-induced EMF, mutually induced EMF. If due to its own flux EMF is induced, then it is known as self-induced EMF. Due to its flux developed in the neighboring coil, if the EMF is induced, then it is known as mutually induced EMF. So the direction of induced EMF is always such that it opposes the cause of its production. So whatever be the cause is nothing but applied voltage. When we apply the voltage, current passes through the coil. When current passes through the coil, magnetic field is developed. Then only conductor cuts the magnetic field, and some flux links with the conductor. Then that EMF is known as self-induced EMF, and that EMF is opposite to cause of its production. So what is the cause for producing EMF? Applied voltage. So it is opposite to that of the applied voltage. So that is nothing but Lenz's law that we discussed in the last class. So in what direction it is produced, that is given by Fleming's right hand rule. Here the forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field. Then the thumb indicates the direction of the movement of the conductor. Then the middle finger indicates the direction of the induced EMF. That is Fleming's right hand rule. So if anything is happening in the nature means there must be a rule, some property behind that task or operation, whatever it may be. See, if you pour water on the wood, it cannot observe. If you pour water on the duster, it will observe. Then what is the difference? The property of the material. The duster material property is having a porous in nature, small holes on that. Whereas wood is a solid, strong, solid piece. So based on some property only, some reaction or reaction will take place in the nature. So whenever we are giving the supply, current passes, magnetic field is produced, it cuts the flux, hence EMF is induced. The principle we said that is according to Faraday's law. But what is the property of that based on with the help of which property it is to develop the EMF? That is nothing but self-inductance. Self-inductance is the property due to which EMF is induced in the coil. In another way we can explain that the self-induced EMF is nothing but it is the property of a material due to which it opposes the variation in current. If the current is increasing, it opposes the increase in current. It will oppose the increase. It won't allow to increase the current. If the current is decreasing, it opposes the decrease in current. So because of that opposing nature only, it is able to develop the EMF in the coil. So that is why this is known as self-inductance. Now what is mutual inductance? So it is also a property. See, suppose I am speaking something. If you are hearing, what is the property? Definitely it is the property of the media and you and me also. I should speak loudly. You should be able to hear with your ears. In spite of these two things, one more is required, the media in between us, you and me. If the media is vacuum, is it possible to hear? No, it is the property of area which allows the sound waves through the air. Which allows the sound wave through the air. If you place a glass, thick glass, is it possible to hear? No, because glass doesn't allow sound waves to pass through it. Glass doesn't allow the sound waves to pass through it. So, it is the property based on which the one coil is able to induce EMF in the other coil. So, we cannot say property of a coil. This we have to say property between the coils. To this coil I am giving supply. Flux is developed in this coil. Okay. I am bringing this coil just nearer to this. Okay. So if some part of this flux links with this coil, then only EMF will be induced. If these two are mutually not understandable, flux doesn't pass, then is it possible to induce EMF in this coil? No. It is also a property between the coils. Because of that property only, this coil is able to induce EMF in the other coil. So that is the concept of mutual inductance. So mutual inductance is the property between the coils with which the one coil is able to develop EMF in the other coil. So all these topics, Lenz's law, Fleming's right hand rule, self-inductance and mutual inductance. These topics were discussed in the previous class. Now we will discuss coefficient of coupling, inductances when connected in series, the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series, energy stored in the magnetic field, and energy stored per unit volume. Now first we will discuss the coefficient of coupling. So coupling means a connection. Okay. So in rail engine, each bogie is coupled with the immediately next bogie. That is nothing but connection. Here what is the coupling means? See, this is one coil we are having. To this copper wire is wounded and I am giving the supply. So what happens? Current passes through this coil. Flux is developed in this coil. Okay. Now I am bringing another coil nearer to this coil. So the some part of this flux links with this coil. Some part of this flux links with this coil. So that how much flux links with this coil based on which factor? How much closely it is related? How it is coupled? Okay. Suppose we are keeping TV in our house. And the immediately next house persons can also able to hear the TV sound. So our sound waves are passing to the nearby house. So how much clearly they are able to hear means that depends on the coupling. Link. Coupling means link. How best it is linked. Okay. It is exactly only in between two houses, only wall is there. Okay. No more distance between those two houses. Like that. How much closely they are coupled. Based on that, how much the TV sound they are able to hear. Similarly, if the second coil is also wounded on the same coil, same core, then what happens? 100% coupling. The one coil is over the other coil only. So whatever be the flux linked in the first coil will definitely links with the flux in the second coil because they are 100% closely related like this. Suppose if we keep these coils like this, then the coupling is only 50%. If I like this, then we can't say how much flux it links. That linking is nothing but a coupling coefficient. How that we will calculate means the fraction of magnetic flux produced by the current in one coil that links with the other coil is called the coefficient of coupling between the two coils. See how much flux produced in coil 1, what is the fraction of flux produced in coil 1 is linking with coil 2. Means if the 100 milliwebers flux is produced, 70 milliwebers is linked, then 0.7 coupling coefficient is. 50% is linked, then coupling coefficient is 0.5. Like that. How the fraction of flux developed in coil 1 links with coil 2, then that fraction is known as coupling coefficient. So it is denoted by symbol K. See in this here we are having two coils, coil A and coil B. So coil A is given with the supply, then current I1 is passing through the coil A. So some part of the flux is core is a circular shape. Some part of that flux, how much percentage? The K times flux pi 1. K times flux pi 1 is linked with the coil B. So if it is 100 milliwebers, if 70 milliwebers is linked here, then it is 0.7. K is 0.7. So how can you derive the equation for coupling coefficient? See, consider two magnetic coils A and B. The current I1 is passing through coil A. and developed a flux of pi 1. So now what is the self-inductance of coil 1? L is equal to n pi by I. So here L1 is equal to N1 pi 1 by I1. N1 pi 1 by I1. Now some part of this flux links with this coil means that property is what? Mutual inductance. So when M is equal to N2 pi 2 by I1. Weber turns in one coil to current in other coil. The current is supplied to the coil 1 only. That is I1. So the Weber turns in coil 2. N2 in pi 2. N2 pi 2 by pi 1. So but pi 2 is nothing but equal to how much? Some part of the flux developed in coil 1 is linking with coil 2. So pi 2 is equal to K times pi 1. K times pi 1. So generally K should be always less than or equal to 1. It cannot be more than 1 because if the flux developed is 100 milliwebers, the flux linking with coil 2 can be 120 milliwebers. If you are having 100 rupees with you, at the most you can give 100 rupees to your friend. Or you can give 70 rupees, 60 rupees, less than 100 rupees. But you cannot give more than 100 because you are having only 100 rupees only. So in the similar manner, if 100 milliwebers is developed in coil 1, the maximum flux that can be linked with coil 2 may be 100 milliwebers or less than 100 milliwebers. At any cost, it could not be more than 100 milliwebers. So that is equal to K into pi 1. So M is equal to N2 into K pi 1 by I1. Now similarly, flux linking with coil 2, L2, inductance, self-inductance L2 equal to N2 pi 2 by I2. And M is equal to N1 pi 2 1 by I2. Okay. Now here what we are taking in, we are giving supply to coil 2. We are not giving supply to coil 1. Now some part of coil 2 flux is linking with coil 1. So N1 K pi 2 by I1. So in both the cases, M is fixed now, mutual inductance between the coils. Whether you give flux current to this coil or current to this coil, that property it won't change. Okay. So M into M is equal to N2 into K pi 1 by I1, N1 into K pi 2 by I2. Okay. Now M square is equal to K square into N1 pi 1 by I1, N2 pi 2 by I2. So N1 pi 1 by I1 is nothing but self-inductance L1. N2 pi 2 by I2 is nothing but self-inductance L2. So mutual inductance M is equal to K into square root of L1 L2. So whereas K is equal to M by square root of L1 L2. So the mutual inductance can also be defined as, the coupling coefficient can also be defined as, it is the ratio of mutual inductance between the coils to the square root of product of two self-inductances of the coil. Square root of product of two self-inductances of the coil. And what are the units for K? No units for K. That you know, the ratio of two similar quantities is always constant, no units. Because mutual inductance is also measured in henries. L1 and L2 is also measured in henries. So henries by henries will get cancelled. So units are nothing. No units for coupling coefficient. And what is the value of coupling coefficient? The coupling coefficient value is always less than 1. Always less than 1. So this is the coupling coefficient. It is defined as two different ways. The fraction of flux developed in one coil linking with other coil is known as coupling coefficient. And it is denoted by the symbol K. And it has no units. And its value equal to K is equal to M by square root of L1 L2. And it can also be expressed as the ratio of mutual inductance between the coils to the Square root of product of two self inductances of the coils. Now we will discuss next topic is inductances connected in series. Inductances connected in series. See, this we already discussed in case of resistors. Okay, when three resistors are connected in series, what happens? Okay, is the same with when three resistors are connected in series. It is equal R equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. If two resistances we take, it is equal to R is equal to R1 plus R2. But is it the same case with here inductances also? No, because if you take two resistances, this resistance at any cost won't affect on this resistance, and this resistance also won't affect on this resistance. There is no internal effects of one resistor on the other resistor. But whereas here inductance is linked with magnetic flux. Inductance is linked with magnetic flux. If you take two coils, because of this flux, its inductance is L1. Because of this flux, its inductance is L2. But this flux also links with this coil, and this flux also links with this coil. It means there is a mutual effect between these two coils. That is mutual inductance. So that also we have to consider. So it is not, the derivation of inductances in series is not similar to that of the resistances connected in series. So first of all, what is the meaning? Listen. When two inductances are connected in series, the total inductance of the combination can be in two different ways. Because inductance means it is having flux. Okay. When flux is developed in the coil, it is having its direction. When we are having two fluxes, the direction of flux in one coil may be in this direction, and the direction of flux in this coil may be in this direction. Or we can say the direction of fluxes in both the coils is in the same direction. So, in series means there exist again two different cases. Inductance is connected in series such that, see, they can be connected in two different ways such that both the fluxes are aiding each other. It means the flux developed in both the coils are aiding each other. Or we can say the flux developed in both the coils are opposing each other. So inductance is connected in series. The first case is fluxes aiding each other, and the second case is fluxes opposing each other. So the voltage developed in the inductor is given by V is equal to L di by dt, where L is self inductance of the coil. Okay. So this means the total inductance of the series connection is the sum of the individual inductances of all inductors. But that individual inductance includes not only self inductance. The individual inductance is the combination of self inductance and mutual inductance. L1 plus Lm. So the inductance is nothing but sum of the self inductance and mutual inductance. Now first we will discuss the sum of the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series with fluxes aiding each other. See this diagram. In this, the current passing through both the coils is same, and they are connected such that both fluxes are in the same direction. See, both fluxes are in the same direction. So we can say fluxes are aiding each other. Let here some notations. L1 is the coefficient of self-inductance of the coil 1 and L2 is the coefficient of self-inductance of the coil 2. Okay. So the self-induced EMF in coil 1 is equal to E1 is equal to minus L1 di by dt. Minus L1 di by dt. Now, because of a flux developed in coil 1, some EMF is developed. But here the flux is developed in coil 2 also. Listen carefully. The flux is developed in coil 2 also. So, some of that flux also links with coil 1. Some of that flux also links with coil 1. And because of that flux also, some EMF is induced. So, here EMF is induced in coil 1 in two different ways. First is because of its own flux. Because of flux developed in its own coil. And other one is due to flux developed in its neighboring coil. So the EMF developed due to flux in its own coil is known as self-induced EMF. But EMF developed due to flux in the second coil is known as mutually induced EMF. So totally what is the EMF developed in coil 1? Self-induced EMF and mutually induced EMF. So total EMF is equal to EL1 plus EM1. EL1 is the self-induced EMF which is equal to minus L1 di by dt. And EM1 is the mutually induced EMF which is equal to minus M di by dt. So what is the total EMF is equal to minus L1 di by dt plus minus M di by dt. Now come to what is the total EMF induced in coil 2. So here also the EMF induced in coil 2 is nothing but again EMF developed due to its own flux plus EMF developed due to flux in the coil 1. So again it is equal to sum of self-induced EMF plus mutually induced EMF. So self-induced EMF in coil 2 is equal to minus L2 di by dt. And mutually induced EMF coil 2 is equal to minus M di by dt. Now what is the total voltage is equal to? The total voltage is equal to EMF induced in coil 1 plus EMF induced in coil 2. So which is equal to minus L1 di by dt plus minus M di by dt plus minus L2 di by dt plus minus M di by dt. If we take minus common, minus di by dt common, L1 plus L2 plus 2M. So here let the total inductance of the combination is equal to L. Let us assume the total inductance of the coil is L. So and what is the total current passing through the coil which is equal to I. So now what is the total EMF induced? Minus L di by dt. So I am equating these two equations. Minus L di by dt equal to minus di by dt into L1 plus L2 plus 2M. See this minus di by dt gets cancels each other. So inductance L equal to L1 plus L2 plus 2M. L1 plus L2 plus 2M. So the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series with fluxes aiding each other is equal to L1 plus L2 plus 2M. In the similar way, now we have to discuss the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series such that their fluxes opposing each other. Now again we will discuss that So here again the total induced EMF is equal to sum of the EMF induced in coil 1 and coil 2, inductance 1 and inductance 2. So here the connection is given that see this T2 is connected to, actually here we are having 4 terminals. The inductor 1 is having terminals T1 and T2 and inductance 2 is having terminals T3 and T4. In the previous case T2 is connected to T3 so that the fluxes developed in both the inductors are in the same direction. But here now how we have connected is T2 is connected to T4, not T3. See, observe carefully. So the fluxes developed in both the inductors are in the opposite direction. Here it is in this way, here it is in the opposite way. So now first we have to calculate the total EMF induced in E1, coil 1. Again it is equal to what? The sum of EMF induced due to self-induced EMF and plus mutually induced EMF. Now what is the self-induced EMF? E1 is equal to minus L1 di by dt. See here because they are connected in series, the value of current, the magnitude of current passing through both the inductors is same. The magnitude of current passing through both the inductors is same, but the direction is different in this case. In the previous case direction is also same here, but here the current direction is same. When the current direction is different, definitely the flux direction is also different. Okay, so the flux developed in coil 2 is in opposite direction to the coil 1. Coil 2 is opposite direction to the coil 1. Okay, now we will discuss E1 is equal to minus L1 di by dt. That is self-induced EMF in coil 1. E1 is equal to minus L1 di by dt. No, but flux is developed in coil 2 also. That flux links with coil 1. That flux links with coil 1. So because of that flux, so EMF is induced in coil 1. So that EM is equal to, actually we have to take minus M di by dt. But here we have taken plus M. Why? Actually it is minus, but flux is in the opposite direction. So it also develops EMF opposite to the self-induced EMF. Minus of minus M di by dt is nothing but equal to plus M di by dt. Okay. Similarly, EMF developed in coil 2 is equal to again self-induced EMF plus mutually induced EMF minus L2 di by dt, whereas mutual EMF is nothing but plus M di by dt. So the total EMF induced is equal to EMF induced in coil 1 E1 plus EMF induced in coil 2 E2. But EMF induced in coil E1 is equal to minus L1 di by dt plus M di by dt. Plus similarly EMF induced in coil 2 is equal to plus minus L2 di by dt plus M di by dt. If I take common minus di by dt, L1 plus L2 minus 2M. L1 plus L2 minus 2M. Again this can be calculated from total inductance. So if total inductance is equal to L, total current is equal to I. Now what is the total EMF induced? Minus L di by dt. If we equate these two equations, minus L di by dt equal to minus di by dt into L1 plus L2 minus 2M. Minus minus cancels. Di by dt cancels. L equal to L1 plus L2 minus 2M. L1 plus L2 minus 2M. So equivalent inductance L equal to L1 plus L2 minus 2M. So this is what, if both the fluxes are aiding each other, L is equal to L1 plus L2 plus 2m. If both the fluxes are opposing each other, then L equal to L1 plus L2 minus 2m. So aggregate, we can write this equation as L equal to L1 plus L2 plus or minus 2m. Plus or minus 2m. Plus is for additive fluxes, minus is for opposing fluxes. Minus is for opposing fluxes. So we discussed how the inductances connected in series. What is the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series? So which is equal to L1 plus L2 plus or minus 2m. So here when they are connected in series, the total voltage is equal to sum of the total EMF is equal to sum of the EMFs developed across the coils, and the current passing through the each inductor is same and is equal to total current. Based on these two conclusions we have derived, and we got L equivalent equal to L1 plus L2 plus or minus 2m. If fluxes are aiding, it is plus. If fluxes are opposing, it is minus. Now, energy stored in an inductor, or we can say energy stored in a magnetic field. When we can say it is having some energy. If I take a bangle, can you say it is having some energy? No, because simply if I keep a bangle here, it cannot do anything. It cannot do anything, any work it can't do. It can do any one, no, nothing. Okay. If it is having energy, it will do some work. Otherwise, it will move like that. Okay. So if there is no movement, no work, we can say no energy. So suppose if you take a magnet, if you keep a magnet here and you keep iron piece, what magnet will do? It attracts the iron piece. See, it is attracting means what? That magnet is having some energy. Okay. So based on this task only, we can say wherever there is a magnetic field, definitely some energy is stored in that magnetic field. Then only it is able to do some work like attracting other magnetic materials, repelling other magnetic materials. Okay. So what is the amount stored in a magnet? It depends on what factors? It depends on what factors? First, let me, if you take this is iron bar. To develop, to create, to make it as a magnet, what we have to do? Make some copper windings and give the supply. Then current passes through the copper windings and it acts like a magnet. So what is the first reason it acting like a magnet means? Current. If you supply more current, more flux is developed. So more EMF is, more magnetic energy is stored. It means the energy stored in a magnetic field first depends on the current. Then how it is able to develop the magnetic field? Based on what property? It is that property self-inductance, L. So it also depends on L. Now how that we will derive? Okay, take here the circuit is taken. Voltage is applied to the inductor through a resistor R. So the current passing through the inductor is I. So then what is the voltage across the inductor? That can be given by V is equal to L di by dt. V equal to L di by dt. Now energy is nothing but we know power into time. But what is the power? Product of voltage into current is nothing but power. So PVI. See, if the capital letters indicates the constant value, the small letters indicates the instantaneous values. RMS value. The capital letters indicates the RMS value, fixed it is. And the small I means its value changes from instant to instant. From second to second, its value is changing. So, P is equal to V into I, where V is equal to L di by dt. That I am substituting in this equation. So, power is equal to Li into di by dt. So, now what is the energy stored? Energy is nothing but product of power into time. So, energy is equal to P into dt. So, here energy is indicated by letter U. Generally, we will denote by letter E. So, dE is equal to P into dt. So, what is P? Li into di by dt. Dt gets cancels. We are remained with Li into di. So, integrating on both sides to get the actual total energy, integrating on both sides, L into up to limits are 0 to I di. So, it is nothing but I di, nothing but I square by 2. So, the energy stored in the magnetic field is equal to E is equal to half L I square. Half L I square, where L is the inductance of the inductor and I is the current passing through the inductor. Current passing through the inductor. So, where L depends on what factors? L is equal to N pi by I. It is number of turns. It means if an inductor is having more number of turns and more current is passing, the maximum energy can be stored. If it is having less number of turns and less current is passing, minimum energy is stored in the inductor. So, this is energy stored in an inductor is equal to half Li square. Half Li square. Now, the last topic in this lesson is energy stored per unit volume. Energy stored per unit volume. See, if you are having such a long iron core, okay, so much width and so much length. So, on passing current, some energy is stored. If this much of area, if 100 meter cube volume of the core is having suppose 100 joules energy, what is the energy stored in 1 m cube volume? 100 by 100, 1 joule. Okay. Now here also we have to find out what is the energy stored per unit volume. Okay. Now here energy stored is equal to half Li square. That already we derived. Energy stored is equal to half Li square. So if you take a solenoid whose length is L and cross sectional area is A. Now what is the volume of the solenoid? A into L. So in A into L, in total volume, the energy stored is half Li square. In 1 unit volume, in 1 m cube, what is the energy stored? Half Li square by A into L. Half Li square by A into L. So here, what is L value? Self-inductance we know. N square mu A by L. N square mu A by L. Into Li square by AL. AL. Now here, AL gets cancels. Okay. AL gets cancels. We are remained with mu naught N square. And here, what is I? B. H is equal to Ni by L. I is equal to HL by I. And again H is equal to B by mu. Substituting this value, here we got half B square A into L by 2 mu naught. AL gets cancelled. It is equal to half B square by mu. So, energy stored per unit volume is equal to half B square by mu. So, this is the derivation for this. In the next class, we will discuss some problems on inductances in series and energy stored in the magnetic field and energy stored per unit volume. So, once again, we will revise. In this lesson, we discussed the total inductance when two inductances are connected in series. But inductance is connected in series in two different ways. with fluxes aiding each other and fluxes opposing each other. When fluxes are aiding each other, the total inductance is equal to L1 plus L2 plus 2M, because in both the inductors flux passing through the same direction. And if the fluxes are opposing each other, the total inductance is equal to L1 plus L2 minus 2M. In both the cases, L1 is equal to self-inductance of coil 1, L2 is equal to self-inductance of coil 2, and M is equal to mutual inductance between the coils. Mutual inductance between the coils. ముందు రూమ్లో mutual inductance between the coils. So if two inductors are placed nearer to each other, some part of this flux links with this coil. The fraction of flux on one coil from one coil links with other coil. That fraction is denoted by coupling coefficient K, where K is given as the ratio of mutual inductance between the coils to the square root of product of two self-inductances. That is, K is equal to M by square root of L1, L2. Now, whenever we are having magnet, definitely some energy is stored in that magnet, because a magnet always do some work. Either it attracts other magnets or it repels other magnets based on polarities. So some energy is stored in the magnetic field. That energy stored mainly depends on self-inductance of the coil and current passing through the inductor. That is, E is equal to half Li square. E is equal to half Li square. So if so much value, the energy stored is half Li square. So, but what is energy stored in 1 unit volume? So that is equal to half B square by mu. Half the total energy stored is divided with the total value. Half Li square by A into L. A into L. Here how we derived means substituted L value n square mu A by L into I value. I is equal to H is equal to Ni by L. In that I is equal to H into L by N. And again H is nothing but B by mu. Substituting all these values, we got half B square by mu. Energy stored per unit volume, joules per meter cube. Joules per meter cube. So okay students, I will stop here and we will solve these problems in the next class. Okay, goodbye.